Hello everyone, how are you? I hope all of you are doing really good. So welcome to another session of strategic management. So we are very close to the end of this chapter and the end of syllabus ultimately. So the topic that we are going to cover is strategic control, and we'll see if we get time we might cover all the topics in this particular session only, right? That's what our effort is. So what is a strategic control? So we are left with two topics, strategic control and strategic performance measures. So this is a very simple topic. Both these are extremely simple topics. What is a strategic control? I will explain this strategic control and then I will ask you people to read it on your own, right? That will help you to understand it better. Now, what is a strategic control basically? Just listen to each and everything very carefully. Some of the things I'll write and some of the things I'll explain. So listen to that explanation. What is a strategic control? If you talk about the word control, what is that? To keep a control on something, right? The parents keep a control on the child so that the child behaves in the right manner, isn't it? That is what? That is a control. So what is a strategic control? Strategic control refers to the overall control, the overall keeping a check, overall keeping a check on what? Check on strategies, check on strategy implementation, right? So it is keeping an overall check on what? Overall check on the implementation of strategy, whether this strategy is being implemented in the right direction, right? And we are on the right path to achieve our organizational goals. Whether there are now this keeping a check will involve a lot of things. This keeping a check will involve keeping a check on the behavior of the employees, whether there are any wasteful activities the people are doing. So you need to curb those activities. You need to put restriction. For example, you are sitting in the office, your employees are playing game on the mobile or on the office laptop. They are just doing their personal work. So how can you restrict that? You need to put the restrictions on that so that they are focused on working towards the organizational goals. It is not fun that having sitting in the office and you are playing the games on mobile or on the office laptop. So that is a kind of strategic control. You need to see that the resources, whatever the resources are being utilized for the strategy which have been acquired, they are not being wasted. Whether it is the money, whether it is the human resources, any kind of resources which you have acquired for the implementation of the strategy, they are not wasted, right? So this is how you are going to keep a check on the strategy implementation, right? So it will involve check on employees, right? I'll write a few things. It will involve a check on employees, right, that they are not involved in any wasteful activities, and then you will have to control those wasteful activities, put a curb or put the restriction on those, right? And the resources are not wasted. Resources are not wasted. You need to keep a check on this also. How will you keep a check? Now there is one very simple way of keeping a control on the things. How will you find out that whether the things or the strategy implementation is in the right direction or not? For that, the first thing is you will set measurable standards. You will do what? You will set measurable standards, right? And then you will compare these standards with what? You will compare these standards with actuals. And in case there are variances, we have already studied this in the cost accounting. So standard costing is all about that, right? Setting the standards for doing a task and then comparing the standards with the actuals. And if there are any variances, then make corrections in that. The same thing is applicable for a strategy. Make corrections in that. Or if you feel at any point of time, one second. It is standards. So if there are any variances, take the corrective action, make the corrections in the strategy. And this also involves making the changes in the standards if required. Making changes in standards if required, right? So there is quite a possibility that you have not set the right standards. You might need to learn something about the standards also, get the new insights on the standards that okay, this was not rightly done, so we need to change it, right? So this is how the strategic control is all about. Then there are three types of strategic control that they are talking about here, right? So this first page is all about this. Whatever I have explained, this is about this, right? That keeping a check on the people, keeping a check on the resources and everything. I hope this much is clear, right? So you will read it, you will be easily able to understand everything. So there are three types of control that is talking about now. One is operational control. There are, three types of control that is talking about. One is operational control, right? The first one is operational control. Second one is the management control. And third one is the strategic control. The third one is strategic control, right? So what are these all about? Let's try to understand one by one that what are these all about. So operational control is regarding the control on a specific task. Control on a specific task or action, right? So it is related to a particular task that you set the standards, which now this task is very much relevant for the successful strategy implementation, right? And you have to keep a check on that task, whether the task is being done in the right way or not. For example, you say that you want to manufacture a t-shirt, and for that there is a particular task, cutting, right? Now you have set a standard that out of 10 meters cloth there should be 5 t-shirts that you will be able to make. Now you will compare it with the actuals. Now this is regarding a particular task, a particular operation that you are talking about, right? Out of that 10 meter, the cutting was done in such a way that there was lot of waste and only the 3 t-shirts were made, right? So this is what? This is keeping a check on a particular task. Now here, one thing that he says very important is that there should be a definite input-output relationship. There should be an input-output relationship which should be measurable. Now here the relationship we have established that in 10 meters 5 t-shirts should be there, in 10 meters 3 t-shirts should be there. So there is a clear-cut input-output relationship that if we input this in the task, from that by doing that particular task, this should be the output, right? So that you can compare it, you can measure it, you can compare the actuals with the standard. So there should be a clear-cut input-output relationship when we talk about the operational control, right? So this is what is there in the operational control, right? The control activity consists of regulating the processes. Now here you will say, here you will set the tolerance limit also. Here you might set the tolerance limit also, that okay, somewhat wastage is fine, that out of 10 meters if you are not getting 5 t-shirts, you might get 4 t-shirts and plus 1 handkerchief, right? So this is what? This is a tolerance limit, that plus minus a small variation is acceptable. This is what you need to define. And if the variation is more than that, then it is not at all acceptable. So you define everything in terms of the operational control. If there are any wastages being done, you need to control that. You need to take the corrective action, that why out of 10 meter only 3 t-shirts have been made, right? 5 was the standard. Small variation is okay, but 3 t-shirt is not acceptable. We need to keep a control on this. We need to keep a check on this, that why this is happening, and take the corrective action. The similar thing is in the strategy. Clear? That if we implement that particular strategy, what is the result that we are expecting in a particular task? In a particular task, if we implement that strategy, what is the result that we are expecting and why there are variances? Then if you talk about the management control, this management control is regarding the overall management of the organization. Control on overall management of the organization, that overall the resources are being utilized effectively or efficiently, right? That is keeping a control on utilization of resources, that resources are being utilized effectively and they are being utilized for achieving the organizational goals, right? So utilization of resources. Clear? So this is the overall management control. Now when we come to the strategic control, now this is very interesting. Strategic control talks about the strategies here, right? Control on the strategies, and he talks about two things here. Two things. One is the right implementation of strategy, right implementation of strategy, right? That whether the strategy is being implemented in the right direction as intended, right? Secondly, once the implementation is done, whether we are getting, whether desired results are being achieved or not, whether desired results are being achieved or not. So this is what it talks about in the strategic control, right? And when you talk about the strategies, the strategic control, there are various things that you need to control, right? There are various things that you need to keep a check on, or there are various things that will need the modification, right? For that, they talk about the various things here. The strategic control, they talk about the types of strategic control. One is the premise control, right? Second is strategic surveillance, then special alert, and the implementation control. Now we'll read this. What is a premise control? Premise control is that whenever we prepare a strategy, we prepare a strategy on the certain assumptions of the premises, right? For example, we are preparing a strategy for the cost cutting, right? Cost effective leadership tool, and in that case we are making an assumption that the inflation rate is going to remain same, or we are making an assumption the price of the raw material is not going to change over a long period of time, and on that basis we will be able to do the cost leadership tool we will be able to use, right? This but because of the changing business environment, you need to keep a check on these things, whether the assumptions are working good for us or not, whether any changes are required or not, which are those areas of the assumptions which are particular assumptions. So there can be many assumptions. I have given you just one example. When you are preparing a strategy, there can be multiple assumptions that you have taken. So you need to keep a check that whether these assumptions are working as intended or not, or whether the changes are required, which assumptions require the change. It is not possible to keep a control or keep a check on each and every assumption, but yes, you need to identify the critical assumptions which can impact the critical areas, that if there are changes in those assumptions or the areas, right, that can adversely impact the business. That is a premise control, right? A strategy is formed on the basis of certain assumptions or premises about the complex and turbulent organizational environment. Over a period of time, these premises may not remain valid because the environment keeps on changing. The premise control is a tool for systematic and continuous monitoring of the environment to verify the validity and accuracy of the premises on which the strategy has been built, right? So from time to time you need to keep a check that whether the assumptions that we have made, one of the assumption is that raw material prices are not going to change over a long period of time, but after a few days only the raw material prices increased. Why they increased? Because the government increased the GST on that, right? The inflation increased. So there can be changes, so you need to keep a check on that, right? Environmental factors such as economic factors, inflation, liquidity, interest rates, technological, social, legal, regulatory, or industry factors such as competitive conditions can change, suppliers can change, substitutes can be available in the market now. So it is neither feasible nor desirable to control all types of premises in the same manner, right? You need to select those premises which are likely to change and which would severely impact the functioning of organization and its strategy. Clear? So this is a premise control. Premise control means you need to keep a check on the assumptions that you have made during the setting up of the strategy. Right now, when you started with your preparations of CA intermediate, you made assumption that there is not going to be any marriage in the family till the time you are appearing for your examinations. But who knows, sir? The marriage, the function, the other functions can come anytime, right? So you need to keep a check on that. That is a premise control. Now, the second one is strategic surveillance. It is very easy. Strategic surveillance is the informal surveillance of the environment, informal analysis of the environment through newspapers, through magazines, because from there you will get to know a lot of information, right, which otherwise might not have been available to you, but through those informal means you get the information. You are just doing the random surveillance. Okay, what is happening in the industry? Let's see what is happening in the industry. Okay, so accordingly you can keep a check on the things which are happening and try to control as much as possible. So control is basically what? Control is nothing you have to control by hand. Control is keeping a check on the things and taking the corrective actions, right? So this is a strategic surveillance. Just read it from there, you will be able to understand it. Next one is special alert control. Special alert control is in the adverse situations, in the unexpected events, if there is a unexpected things that happen. At times, the unexpected events may force the organization to reconsider their strategy, and one of that unexpected event that we encountered was COVID-19. Isn't it? During the COVID, every industry, and that came as a sudden shock to everyone. The strategies which were already prepared, those strategies were flawed and everything had to be changed. Sudden changes in the government, natural calamities, terrorist attacks, unexpected merger acquisitions, industrial disaster, or such events may trigger an immediate and intense review of the strategy. To cope up with such eventualities, the organization formed the crisis management teams to handle the situation, right? Last one is implementation control. Implementation control sees that whether the implementation is being done in the right direction as intended, and secondly, the resources are not wasted. Thirdly, whenever we are implementing the strategy, we always set small milestones, right? It is not that we implement everything in the one go. We have already studied about that also, right? That strategy, whenever you are going for the implementation of strategy, it should be implemented in the small steps, right? One milestone achieved, move on to the next one, right? One chapter completed, move on to the next one. Second completed, move on to the third one. One subject completed, move on to the next one, right? So whenever you are preparing for your examination, it is not going that you are going to study all the 7 subjects in one day at one go. No, you always set small milestones. Okay, today I am going to complete this, and then evaluate whether the implementation is in the right direction or not, right? Managers implement the strategy by converting the major plans into concrete sequential actions. Sequential action means you define the sequence in which the implementation is to be done. Okay, today we will implement the strategy in one department, tomorrow we will implement in another department, third day we will implement in another department, right? That form the incremental steps. Incremental step means one step completed, move on to the next one, then second completed, move on to the third one, then the fourth one. This is the incremental step, and this is how the strategies are implemented, right? So implementation control is directed towards assessing the need for changes in the overall strategy in the light of unfolding changing events and results associated with the incremental steps and actions. So if you are able to complete one step successfully, right? So this is the ladder that you are going for the strategy implementation. After reaching here, you feel like changing the strategy, that it's not working. This incremental step is not working now. You need to change the strategy here, right? This is what is implementation control. Monitoring the strategic thrust. Strategic thrust help the managers to determine whether the overall strategy is progressing as desired and whether there is need for readjustment, right? Whether we are in the right direction or whether the direction needs to be modified. Milestone reviews. All the key activities necessary to implement strategy are segregated in terms of time, events, or the major resource allocation, right? So here this is one milestone, right? Here it is another milestone that we say this is to be achieved in the next 10 days, right? Then this is to be achieved in the next 5 days. So we need to keep a check that whether it is the milestones are being achieved or not. It normally involves a complete reassessment of the strategy. It also assesses the need to continue or refocus the direction of an organization. Clear? These are the milestone reviews, whether the milestones are being achieved with the current strategy itself or whether the current strategy needs to be changed, or whether the milestones need to be changed, or there are major changes which are required in the direction of the company. Refocus the direction means you need to, the milestones need to be changed. Milestones need to be changed. Clear? So this is all about the strategic control that we wanted to discuss, and for this chart is important. This is important, sir, right? So if you remember this, you will be able to remember a lot of things related to the strategic control. Please make this chart, and definitely it is going to help you a lot, right? So strategic control, here we have divided it into various parts. We have divided the strategic control into 4 parts, right? One is the premise control. One is the premise control. Another one is the strategic surveillance. Strategic surveillance, right? Then is the strategic alert, right? And last one is the implementation control. Clear, sir? So I've tried my best to explain it in the easiest of ways, and through this flow chart, so that you people can remember it at a later stage also, right? Whenever you want to revise it, revise this chart, strategic control will be almost done. Okay, now moving on to the last topic, that is, so this is a kind of diagram which was given by John A. Pierce. Right, and okay, this is the source from where everything has been collected, right? So premise control is there, overall strategic surveillance, that is informal way of surveillance is there, right? Special alert control is there, strategy formulation, strategy implementation, implementation control, that whether any changes are required accordingly. These 4 strategic controls steer the organization and its different subsystems to the right track. So they give the right direction to the company. In case the company goes off track, they will tell you, no, come back to the track. They help the organization to negotiate through the turbulent and the complex environment, because if we keep a regular check on the things, that then we will be able to identify the changes in the business environment on time, and accordingly we can make the changes in our strategies. Right? Now the last topic is strategic performance measures. A very easy topic. What is a strategic performance measure? Now this particular thing is related to what? That once you have implemented the strategies, your job is done, or something else needs to be done. Sir, once you have implemented the strategies, it's time for the strategy evaluation. Strategy evaluation tells us that whether the implementation is in the right direction and whether we are achieving the desired results or not, right? So these SPM, the strategic performance measures, are the key indicators, or I can say the parameters on the basis of which you try to judge the performance of the strategy. You try to evaluate the strategy whether it is in the right direction or not. So this is what the strategic performance measures. Now this can be in terms of the financial performance, because the strategy says that we will be earning a gross profit of, let's say, 20%, right? Now this is a parameter on which you will try to judge whether through the implementation of strategy we have been able to achieve this goal or not. We have to been able to achieve this strategic objective or not, right? It can be in the other terms also, which we will be studying about, right? So a company's performance depends heavily on the execution of strategy. That is why I told you this topic is related to the strategy execution. Companies that continuously outperform their competitors are those who execute well. The executives in the variety of businesses should explore about utilizing the strategic performance measures, right? So the people who are in charge of the operations, they should use the strategic performance measure. The SPM is a method that increases the line executive's understanding of an organization's strategic goals and offers a continuous system for tracking the progress towards these objectives using the clear-cut performance measurements. Now this is a clear-cut goal which has been defined, right? And the line executive means the people who are actually involved in the implementation of the strategy. They know that this is the goal that has been set as per the strategy, and this is what we want to achieve, and against this goal they will be able to compare the progress. They will be able to track the progress, that whether we are on the right path or not. Right? So this is what this goal setting, this clear cut goal which we have said, this is a performance measure that we want to achieve 20%, this financial performance measure. Right? We need to measure the actual performance for the strategic goal which has been set. The SPM helps to eliminate the silos. The silos means the roadblocks or the walls, we can say. Right? By establishing a common language among all the divisions of the organization, so they may communicate openly and productively. Right? So if you clearly said the financial goal is GP 20%, so it is clear cut to all the departments, right? So they can communicate, they can work in sync to achieve this goal. Clear? Strategic performance measures are the key indicators that organization use to track the effectiveness of their strategy and make informed decision about the resource allocation. Now, this is an indicator, that this is a key indicator, right, that we want to achieve this kind of a financial goal, the GP 20%. Now, according to this, you will be allocating your resources, and according to this indicator only, you will be judging the performance, that whether the strategy is being implemented in the right way, whether the strategy is giving us the desired results or not. Right? The measure provides a snapshot of the organization's performance. It gives you a clear picture of the performance of the organization and the performance of the strategy that you have implemented, enabling the leaders to assess whether their strategies are aligned with their goals and objectives, and to make necessary adjustment to improve their performance. Right? Whether the correct strategies are there, whether the strategies have been implemented in line with the goals and the objectives that they wanted to achieve. So the key performance measures and the indicators must be created, selected, combined into reports and acted upon, so that the strategy implementation can have tangible outcomes. Right? So evaluation is very important, because without evaluation you won't be able to make the desired changes in the strategy. Right? And accordingly, the strategy might not give you the results which you had expected. So these strategic indicators, these parameters, you need to define that, okay, this is the parameter. The parameter is that the maximum output in the next 5 hours. This is a parameter. 10 chapters in 5 hours. This is a parameter that you have set for yourself. Right? And then accordingly, you will see the implementation part. Firstly, there needs to be a clear cause and effect relationship between the indicators and the strategic outcomes. There has to be a relationship between the indicator, right, the financial, and the strategic outcome. The strategic outcome is we need to increase the profits, right, and the indicator is the financial health. So there is a clear-cut cause, and because if the profits will increase, the financial health will improve. So the indicators and the strategic outcomes, they should be related to each other. It is not like you are setting a strategic outcome of GP 20%, but the indicator you are setting is that we are going to provide everything free of cost. So there has to be a clear-cut cause and effect relationship. Secondly, the KPIs need to be carefully chosen, because they will influence the behavior of the people within the organization. These indicators, you have to choose it very carefully, because every action of the organization, everything is going to be done according to these. Right? However, the managers should be aware of the paralysis by over-analysis. Over-analysis should not be there. Right? Because if you will go into the over analysis now, then there will be a problem. Right? Over analysis will in case of over analysis, then what you will be trying to do is you will be always trying to look for the mistakes. Okay, this is the mistake, this is the mistake. Then you might not be able to implement any one strategy successfully, because every other day you will be over analyzing it and you will feel like, no yaar, this strategy is not working, let's change it. So the manager should not be over analyzing it, but yes, keeping their eyes open, that's most important, right? Then managing the political aspects of implementing a strategy. He says there are two there are two segments in the organization or two groups in the organization in terms of the people who are involved in the strategy planning and strategy implementation. One set of the people will be who want to do the things in the right way, right? They are the rational forces. They are open to the things, they are open to communication, they are open to self-analysis, that if there are mistakes, yes, we are ready to correct it, don't worry. They want to involve everyone in the communication. Then on the other hand, there could be political forces who are just concerned with their power, that if they include everyone, their power might not get reduced. So let's stick to our power, right? Let's take the decisions. Concerned with preserving the empires, right? That their power, their empire should not fall down, right? And fostering the internal rivalry. It's a very common thing, right? You must have heard a lot of times that there is politics going on in the office. What is politics? That is rivalry against each other. The person wants to stay ahead of the others, and he's making all those strategies accordingly. And urge the knowledge retention, selective communication and caution, right? Because a person, he says that if I share everything with the other person, he might move ahead of me. I will not give him the complete knowledge. I will not openly communicate with him, right? I will be cautious while dealing with him, right? So when there is a conflict between these two set of people, sometimes and normally the political thing, that has a higher say, that explicitly comes out, and the people who are rational forces, they are submissive, and they just sit silent. Okay, let the politics prevail. Okay, you just have fun, because we can't do anything wrong. If you want to do it, just go ahead, and we'll sit silently, right? So their plans are mostly end up in the silence. So when these two techniques conflict, the politically acceptable aspects may end up in explicit strategy, that is the strategy which is actually formed and implemented, while the sensitive elements may form an unspoken plan that contains the implicit strategy, that is an implied strategy, that we should be openly communicating, we should be doing the self-analysis. If there is something wrong on our part, we should be correcting it, but they will not say it openly, right? And those who are politically they are involved in the politics in the office, they will say the open things, because they are already into such kind of a mindset that okay, by hook or crook, we have to stay ahead, we will speak whatever it is, right? So there can be the problems here. The problems can be there in the implementation of a strategy. Now the types of strategic performance measures, the SPMs, there are few types. Let's talk about them. The financial measures. So we will try to identify in terms of the financial performance of the company, right? Such as the revenue growth, return on investment, profit margins. So they keep the track of the financial progress of the company, right? Financial performance and its ability to generate profit. Second is customer satisfaction measures. So these measures tells you that whether your customer is satisfied with your product and service or not, whether you are able to retain your customer, what is the customer rating, what is the customer reviews. So this is customer satisfaction measure. So you always set some standards and then you compare. The customer measures such as the customer satisfaction, retention, loyalty provide insight in the organization's ability to meet the customer needs and provide high quality product and services, that whether we have been able to provide the right quality of the product and services to the customer, that they are happy. Market measures. The market measures tells us about the market share, right? Our competitive position, customer acquisition, customer referrals, organizations' competitiveness in the marketplace, and ability to attract and retain customers, that how we are performing in the marketplace, in the industry in which we are operating, whether we are able to gain customers or not, and what is our competitive position. Then employee measures. Employee measure tells us that what is the employee turnover rate, whether the employees are happy or not, whether you are able to retain the experienced employees for a long period of time, whether you pay their salaries in time or not. So this is about the employee measures, satisfaction of the employee. Innovation, whether you are good at innovation or not, whether you frequently come up with some innovative products or not. Right? It is about the R&D. How's your R&D department working? Whether you come up with the new ideas. The innovation measures such as R&D spending, then patent applications, new product launches, provide an insight that organizations' ability to innovate and create new products and services that meet customer needs. Then the environmental measures, that how you are processing your waste and all, such as energy consumption, waste reduction, or you can write here waste management also. Carbon emissions provide insight in the organization's impact on the environment and its efforts to operate in a sustainable manner, right? So towards more historic measures of the strategic performance, they say the companies were earlier to judge the strategic performance, they were focused on the people, they were focused on the planet, that is environment part, and on the profits, that is the financial part. But then the people, another element was added: people, planet, profits, and the purpose, whether for the purpose for which we are doing business, whether that is being done or not, right? So it was a triple bottom line framework, right? This one, in which there are three things, and then there was quadruple bottom line, which adds the fourth P, add a spiritual dimension called the purpose, that whether we are able to fulfill the purpose for which we are doing a business. Clear? Now the next one is importance of strategic performance measures. Goal alignment. What is the importance? They help in the goal alignment along with the strategies, helps the organization align their strategies with their goals and objectives, right? They tell you that this is not the right track, right, for the progress. We need to make the changes in the strategies according to the goals and objectives. So they bring the strategies in line with goals and objectives. Resource allocation. They help in identifying that how the resource allocation is to be done, right? Measures provide organizations with the information they need to make informed decisions about the resource allocation. For example, when we talk about the environmental measures, right? Now, after using this environmental measures, you might feel that there are the resources which are required for reducing the carbon emissions. For the waste management, we need to allocate a certain resources, right? So that is how you will be able to identify with the help of these performance measures that which aspects of the strategy or which aspects of the organization need the extra resource allocation. Continuous improvement. They help the organization continuously improve by keeping a track of the progress of the strategy implementation and telling in time that which areas need to be changed, right? For continuous improvement, enabling them to track the progress and make the adjustments in their performance to improve their performance over time. And the last one is external accountability. The strategic performance measure helps organizations demonstrate accountability to the stakeholders. That's the really most important thing, that they help the organization being accountable to the people who have invested money, to the customers, to the employees and everyone, all the stakeholders, right? Because these measures help you in identifying in whether the strategies are being implemented and the direction is towards the achievement of the overall organizational goals or not. Clear? Then he says, choosing the right strategic performance measures, it should be relevant, right? The measure, whichever you are selecting, it should be relevant to the strategy that you have implemented. It should be relevant to the goals and objectives that you have framed, right? You have set an objective of earning GP of 20% and the measure that you are checking is the environmental measure. Is it relevant? No. Then you have to set the financial measures. Clear? Data availability, the data availability regarding these measures, right? That how financially we are performing. So the financial statements should be easily available. It should not be you ask today and the statements are available after 1 year. Then the relevancy will not be there. So data availability, it should be readily available. The quality of the data should be good, right? It should not be a hindered quality. It should be a good quality data on the basis of which the accuracy of the measures can be just, right? Data timelines should be there. The measure should be based on the data that is current and up to date, enabling the organizations to make informed decisions in the timely manner. Now you ask for a financial statement that what is the GP in the today's time, and the worker gives you the financial statement of 6 months back. Is it going to be relevant in the today's environment? No, the environment is already changing very fast. Now the data which was there 6 months ago, today's situations are totally different. So it should be the up-to-date data. It should be accurate. It should be a quality data, that is accuracy. It should be up to date, and it should be readily available, and it should be relevant to the goals and objectives. So 4 things: relevancy, availability, quality, and timeliness. So these measures provide a way for the organizations to assess the success of their strategies, identify the areas for improvement, and make informed decisions about how to allocate resources, and if there are required any changes to be made in the strategies for the desired outcome. So basically these SPMs help you in identifying that whether the organization is going in the right direction or not, the strategies, the intention with which the strategies were implemented, that intention is being met or not, right? Intention means the goals and objectives. So effective strategy performance measures should be relevant, meaningful, and easy to understand, and should be regularly reviewed and updated to ensure their continued alignment with the organizational. So these performance measures should be relevant, meaningful, we have already seen that, and they should be regularly, you should keep on updating according to the changing business environment situations, right? So with this, we are done with this chapter. Nothing else is left, and we are done with the complete syllabus of strategic management. This was the last topic that we have covered, and in the next video we will be covering the practical case study part from the ICAI module, and with that everything will be done. Conceptually we have covered each and everything. We are not left with even a single topic, right? We have covered each and everything, right? So now it's up to you to revise this thoroughly, each and everything thoroughly, right? Wherever the flowcharts have been done, make that, understand that, the highlighting of the key points is there. So everything we have tried from our side to give you the best of the things, right? With examples and everything. So it's up to you guys now to revise it and make it a best one, right? Make the best use of these things, and more importantly, to focus on the case-based study questions. That's really important, along with the MCQs, right? So see you guys in the next video. Till then, stay safe, stay healthy, keep studying, keep sharing. Thank you so much.